hard to get any light on that. Welcome back. We're starting on the glazing of Blockhouse 1. We've bisque fired this piece. We've bisque fired it and we've basically fused on our underglaze, and that's done well. And so we're starting to glaze in preparation for a high fire, a cone 6 high fire, on this white clay body that we have here, a slightly sculptural white clay body. Now what we're working on today is we're working on putting some colorant on these wood pieces, even though it's clay. And we're just doing that with red iron oxide, just plain red iron oxide. And the theory is that I'm going to put some of this on and somehow rub some of it off without it rubbing on everything else. Now that might be the catch, is how to make it so it doesn't rub on anything else. And it's going to be quite laborious. It's very tedious work because you don't want to get the red iron oxide on anything else besides what you want it to be on. If it gets on anything else, this is a real stain maker. And when it comes to clothing and it comes to your hands, you can see it's already turning orange. It's not dangerous or anything like that. It's just iron, just iron. It's an oxide. We use this oxide a lot in our glaze making, especially the darker glazes, mainly the darker glazes. So it's just a mineral. There's no toxicity about it. You can't drink it, obviously, but you know. But it is a very potent stain. It does quite a lot with quite a little. So we've got a cup with a little bit of oxide in it, and we have mostly water. And what I'm basically doing is I'm stabbing down into this water oxide mix, and then I bring it up here and try to dry it out some, because it will just matriculate itself across the surface pretty easily. Now, unfortunately, this overhang here is creating kind of a shadow for me, but I'm going to work on it anyway. And we're just going to work on this for a while and not talk a lot, so that if I need to speed this up, which would probably be good, it'll make a more interesting video. And I don't have the radio on right now, so it's a nice quiet night out here in the studio. Not a lot of road noises. So let's just go ahead and get to it. Now I'm trying to protect anything else, and then try not to drip. And it's awkward. Let me try to push this back some. Maybe I can get a space for my elbow here. So yeah. You know what? I'm going to see if I can't push you guys in a little closer. So we're going to stain this cupola. I think that's the right word for it. But we're not going to do the roof tiles. At least we're going to try not to get anything on the roof tiles. And then we're going to come down here and do the window frames all the way down. So we have to be very careful. Maybe that would be cool. Just delicate little steps here. Oh, little bleed out onto the roof there. So, do you think I can do that little bar through the middle of the window without getting it on the glass area? I'm not sure I can either. We got to get down the other side there too. I don't know if you can see that. It's really difficult to see even for me. Ah! Now I do have a brush that has like 2 hairs on it. But that's not horrible. And the more we do this, like again, this is still our first one. I do know that on the next one I do, I'm going to have more colors and underglaze by then. And I want to do, try to use underglaze to do this woodwork, because I've seen a couple of other artists that have done some just wonderful things with underglaze colorants that make it look like wood. And I think I want to try that. So probably one of those things where you have to test a lot. Oh, careful. And what I say by that, I mean you take tile, you roll out some slabs, you make them into square tiles, and you do your color test on those, and you write down the information on the back so that at a later date you know which colors you used and what brush techniques you used to accomplish that. And you just start testing, which we here at Golden Soul Studios do a lot of testing. Most of the glazes, all the glazes you see on the shelf behind me here, that way, were all derived from getting recipes out of books or magazines and testing and testing and testing and adjusting until you get a result that's acceptable. And depending on what you're using the glaze for, will determine if the glaze is acceptable. Glazes for pottery, for example, have to kind of fit one of the higher bills in the sense that they have to be fully fused, or dinnerware pottery is what I'm referring to. You want them to be fully fused so there's no crackles in the glaze to hide food remnants. You don't want people getting sick from using your pots. So, and you want your glazes to be safe for people to use if you're making pottery. And there are ingredients in some glazes that do make it unsafe if you were to use it for dinnerware. Now, for sculptural pottery, ceramics, you can use all kinds of things and have all kinds of results that you couldn't put on dinnerware. Crackle glazes, volcano glazes, things that you just, would never be able to get clean if you put them on a dinner plate or a bowl, So, depending on the thing you're glazing, it would determine whether you got a positive result or not. Now, red iron oxide, I've glazed numerous things with red iron oxide, and normally when we use this, we put it on and then we sponge over and take a bunch off, leaving red iron in the cracks and the grooves. And that would be wonderful to do here somehow. But the problem with that is it will drag the colorant onto everything else if we were to do that. So I'm trying to work out ideas in my head. How can I take some of this glaze away, some of this oxide away, without getting it on everything else? And I don't necessarily want to fire it, because if I fire it and then try to take it away, it'll be fused in there permanent. So we need to do that before the firing. All right, back to concentrating. So, yeah, we're going to have to come in here and try to take out some of this colorant later on. And one of my thoughts was to maybe try to take a Q-tip, a dry Q-tip, and use it as a sanding pad. So I'll try that. Might actually try sandpaper on here, and then use an air blower to blow off any dust or residue that might settle on something. Without the aid of water, it shouldn't penetrate too deeply into the surface of other things, this oxide. So with the aid of water, meaning I've added water to it, it'll soak right in just like a good red wine on a white shag carpet. Haha, kind of looks like a white shag carpet, doesn't it? The background. Try to get it so you guys can see what we're doing. Sometimes I have to turn it so much just to get this far edge, so I don't get it where the glass is supposed to be. My eyes are getting buggy. Very meticulous work here. Well, one thing about this color end is it's sure making it pop. I guess it's a lack of color. Oh boy. How am I going to get up under here? Well, that worked. Anything else? Well, we got to get up under there. Okay. Well, we still have more to do. Let me go ahead and back the camera up real quick. Okay, well, we've done as much as I can do right now. I'm going to have to make a big pillow or blanket or something to lay this over on its back on very gently so we can glaze up underneath the bottoms of all of these with our red iron oxide, which is technically not a glaze, but it'll glaze anyway. What did I want to say about that? Anything? Anyway, we still have quite a bit more glazing to do, quite a bit, and I'll try to bring you along on as much of this as you can tolerate, or I think you can tolerate. But I think you get the idea of, some of this can be very, very time-consuming and frustrating. You have to be very careful with this red iron, especially. But really, just because of what we're doing, all the glazes are supposed to stay in the paint by number little nodes that we want them to stay in. So it's a bit more challenging than just dipping a bowl in a bucket of glaze. Say that fast. So we're going to hold this off for now until I figure out my little nest that we'll make for the sculpture. And we'll be back at that time. So stand by and we'll continue glazing. Okay, we're continuing on with the glazing of Blockhouse 1, and it's been a couple of days, because sometimes I need a couple of days to figure out what I'm doing next. And what I figured out that I was going to do next was that we're going to put some red iron oxide on this roof, and we're going to then wash it off so it's only in the grooves, and then we're going to put a glaze on the surface of the tiles, theoretically. So, but we're going to try it. We're trying new things with this one. We just want a little bit of red iron. I have a very little bit of red iron in here and a lot of water, and you can see it just sucking right into that background there. It looks great. Looks like a roof. Looks like a wood shake roof in its own way. I did well with that. So if we can accomplish having that look come through in the end, that's going to be great. I just wanted to do this because for one thing, I wanted to make sure that we had color in all the grooves. I didn't want to see any white when it's done. Now I've draped plastic around the base of the work, and we're doing our best to make sure that this doesn't drip too much. And I don't know if you can see how it just likes to just follow and drip down so quickly. And there's really very little oxide in here, but a little bit goes a long way sometimes. I think it'll really gather up inside the cracks and grooves of the roof here. I'm excited about that because even if I didn't fire it at this point, I like the look. Of course, that's going to change a lot. So, and like I said before, we have red iron oxide on these other parts already. So this is going to be interesting because I also want to wipe this off here in a minute. All right. So I hope you guys can see this. All right. Boy, that was quick. I like that. Let's go ahead and save that in case we needed some more. Oh, I see a little spot there. Let me get down low here. Make sure we got the overhang. Didn't quite get all the overhang. In this sense, we don't, you know, we don't want to come out later and go, oh, we missed a spot. Because that might really stand out down the road. All right. Okay. So now we're going to just take a sponge, a wet sponge, and we're going to gently wipe down the roof. Gosh, that's looking so good just this way. Maybe we won't use a lot of glaze. Boy, I think you guys would really like how this looks. Check out this picture. Okay, so that's how this looks right now. And it looks really darn good. I'm tempted to not do what I was going to do, but I think I still will because I want to put just a little bit of this glaze on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the glaze that I was going to put on the base here, one of the glazes, because there'll be several.